I see 3 copies of Some Like It Hot. They're showing it on Valentine's Day somewhere, like the Heights.
Yeah, the Heights is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see 3? Are there actually 3?
Yeah, it says Some Like It Hot, Some Like It Hot, Some Like It Hot, The Apartment.
Couldn't tell you why. Well, one of them is Criterion, one of them's from a set, and one of them is just there.
Okay.
Yep. All right.
How do you do? We're about to unfold the story of
Ghost of Frankenstein.
My son, would you destroy that which I, your father, dedicated his life to creating? What if it had another brain?
Whose brain?
Your brain.
Bother! What good is a brain without eyes to see?
I warned you that you might regret this action.
Well, we've warned you.
You've been warned. Welcome back to Frankenstein Minute. What are you doing?
I don't know, staring off into space.
Okay. What is it? Frankenstein.
Well, here's what happened is you said, welcome back, as I was sort of coming back to consciousness because I was staring into space.
Got it. What are we? We're the podcast that dissects the Frankenstein film series minute by minute. I'm Thom Lang.
We're the podcast that dissects minute by minute. Dr. Boma. And I'm Bill Evenson. And join us for minute 34 of The Ghost of Frankenstein, starring Sir Cedric Hardwicke, the dancer, the ballet artist. Really, he's so graceful when and he's got a little bit of spring in his step as he comes over to the. He's just finished closing the door.
We'll see some of that in this minute too.
A little bit of grace, he's got a lithe.
When he needs
athletic,
to be, he can be light on his feet.
Yes, and I think it's great because we're saying all this, and if you haven't seen the film, and if you haven't seen his face, he doesn't like. If you just see his face, you're not going to think.
You think he's been paralyzed or
you're going to think. That he's been buried in the ground for 20 to 30 years.
Oh, I should mention this is the halfway mark.
Okay.
We're at the halfway point.
We are halfway through. Congratulations, cheers, and all that. Yep.
Just so you know.
He's got, in fact, what I wrote here is, Hardwicke is a very lithe, graceful fellow. He's got a real spring in his step for someone who's awfully crabby most of the time. Yeah, because he is. Even when he's jovial, which is like the first time we see him, he cracks a joke with Eric. He does it so dryly that you're not even sure if he's kidding.
Sure, are you kidding? Or?
Yeah. Wait till you're married.
What do you
I gotta say, maybe he's not kidding, because what happened to the wife, right?
Well, that's the thing.
Or is that Martha? No, that would be something.
That'd be weird.
That'd be very weird.
That's a thing throughout
Maybe
this
he did
series.
a Schwarzenegger, and Martha is the true mother of Elsa. Some scandal in the Frankenstein family.
Yeah.
Some scandal in the otherwise relatively scandal-free Frankenstein family.
Yeah. Well, the missing mother is a common thread through these films.
True.
It's been in every one.
Yeah.
Well, okay, not Bride so much, but certainly Frankenstein, there's very little mention of Henry's mother.
When you say not Bride, you're right. I guess you're right. Yeah, not Bride. It's just a sequel to Frankenstein, so I think of it the same as part of one story.
Henry's mother is missing, presumed dead in that.
But there's also. I mean, I thought maybe this is where you were going. There's also an element of that you don't need a mother. That's the whole point of this story.
Yes,
Frankenstein is about a guy who wants to have babies without mothers.
Building up to a point. Elizabeth is never mentioned in Son.
Okay.
And Elsa's mother is never mentioned here. In the novel, Mary Shelley's novel, Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus.
Heard of it.
Victor's mother dies very young and very early in the book as well. So it's a common thread, and it's because, yes, we are procreating without the mother.
Yeah. I was going to say, when you mention that part of it in the novel, my thoughts immediately go to the life of Mary Shelley, and just thinking about how everybody's dying left and right, including her mother.
That could probably
by the time she's writing that second edition, death is like her best friend.
Yeah, everybody's dead at that point.
She's reached the ripe old age of what, like 30?
50 or something like
and
that.
she's... Yeah. No, isn't it earlier than that? When she's writing the second edition?
18 in 1818, yeah.
So she's 31 or whatever?
31 or 2, yeah.
Yeah, so she's been through some shit.
She died, I think, when she was like 54 or something like that.
Oh, right. Well, that is a ripe old age. People probably should die at 54.
Yeah, well...
What use are you after that?
Way past my...
Expiration date?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying it should be a law. I'm just saying
sell by.
We'll work on it.
He
so now
skips over to
That would be fantastic. Because the other thing is, he's dressed. This is one theory I have about this film. Is that Sir Cedric Hardwicke agreed to star in the film, but he said, every scene, I must have one of my suits. I'm going to buy 6 suits, and I will wear a different one in each scene.
I think he didn't buy the suits. They were bought for him.
Sure. I'm going to buy them with your money, whatever it is, yeah. And he's always got a tie on.
He's always nappy and
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't really talk about the cravat with
Bomer.
Bomer's cravat.
Well, we mentioned it briefly, but he looked pretty dapper for going to bed.
For going to bed, yeah.
We don't know what he was doing.
Did people ever do anything like this, or is all of this a creation of the movies under some sort of Hays Code-esque
to put on the dressing gown and all that?
And probably children's book illustrations. I'm guessing that before this there was a book of the Christmas Carol where he's always got the cap and all that crap.
Well, it's referred to in I think it's called The Visit from St. Nick, but you know it as The Night Before Christmas.
Well, yeah, it's even in
it's referenced, Ma in her kerchief and
I in my cap. Yeah, why is all this happening? What's going on?
Well, I mean, duck soup. There you go. Have the cap and the nightgown thing.
Absolutely.
My grandpa. I have my grandpa's. I have my grandpa's.
No way.
Like what Groucho and
really
they're wearing in Duck Soup. I have an actual one that my grandpa had.
I would very much like to see you in it.
Would you? I'm a much larger gentleman.
It's my Raiders of the Lost Ark quote. I would very much like to see you in it.
Yes,
and then you respond with a mouthful of bread. Yeah, I bet you would. But she does put it on. Yeah. Anyways, by the time you get to Groucho, it's a trope. It's an actual honest to goodness trope.
I think there it's done for comic effect.
And it's done for comic effect, but also, and this comedies are able to do this better than say, and I got to do it again to you, a show like Doctor Who, where you do have these sort of visual shorthand where someone's wearing a cap and a thing like that. Doctor Who became a show where the Doctor always wore the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I know what this show is because he wore that last week, and it's stupid. But in a movie like, and that's why it's so effective in a movie like Duck Soup, because first of all, it's a screwball comedy.
It's not a screwball comedy.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I said it, I didn't sound right, but you know what I mean. It's
a satire. It's a zany comedy.
It's a zany comedy. That's the word I'm looking for.
If you told Groucho it was a satire, he would argue with you.
My point just being, visually, it makes sense, and I guess we've got a bit of that with Bomer's cravat.
It's almost like a cartoon. It's a visual shorthand.
It's a visual shorthand.
Yeah.
And then the oboe starts.
I think the score in this sequence is really cool. When he's looking at the monster and you get the oboe.
Don't quite think so.
Because it feels like it's from Bride or Son.
I think it's a little too... I don't know. There's something about that oboe that makes me just want to. It's like mock-worthy or something like.
No.
It's
saying Frankenstein.
Is it Frankenstein? Okay, then I like it. Because in this film, in this shot, there's 2 Frankensteins. There's Frankenstein and Ludwig.
Frankenstein, yeah.
Frankenstein and Frankenstein.
Frankenstein meets Frankenstein.
Is that the first time you've said Frankenstein meets Frankenstein? I can't believe it took this long. It took 5 years. 5 years ago. For someone to say Frankenstein meets Frankenstein. Man.
Now I got to go back in time.
Frankenstein meet Frankenstein.
Change the title even better. To minute 32 of Frankenstein.
To Frankenstein meet Frankenstein. Yeah, that would work perfectly. Yeah. I actually, when you first said that, I thought you meant something else. I thought you meant the movie that is called Frankenstein, meet the character Frankenstein, but it actually is not only that, but there's also another character in that shot named Frankenstein.
Yes.
Wow, it's just the layers. It's layered.
These films.
This podcast is so layered.
Yes.
You people just don't get it, okay? You guys that are complaining about how stupid we are, you just don't get it.
I don't either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no.
We get a nice big screen-filling shot of the inside of Lon's nostrils.
Yeah, that's good.
But that's not unusual because there's a lot of shots.
I feel bad that I was saying I didn't love the music because this whole minute's really effective.
No, I think the music here is really good.
Okay. I know you do.
You
said that already.
Stay with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But also, I like the shot of his nostrils. I like the way this is handled for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm joking because it's looking
he's
up
laying
at
down,
it.
Yeah.
He's laying down, and you see his eyes kind of flutter open.
But it's a choice you make to show it that way, and I think it's an effective one. How do you shoot a person laying down? There's a million ways to do it, and this one is a fun kind of way to show.
Well, there's a comparable scene in a film called Frankenstein from 1931.
Is that the one with Boris Karloff as the monster?
It is. And Boris Karloff as the monster is lying on a slab very similar to this one. Might be the same one, I don't know.
Sure.
And a gentleman is looking him over.
Yeah.
And
But we don't get the nostril shot.
We don't get the nostril shot. That's what I'm saying is it's framed very differently.
Yes, framed very differently, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
but the
kudos
comparisons
to Ken
are
for doing something different.
Absolutely. Do you mean that?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm
and that comparison is so apt, I'm guessing we'll mention it again in the next few seconds here.
We probably will.
Yeah. Okay. Ludwig looks over the standard Frankenstein parts.
Yep.
Flat head, check.
Check.
Neck bolts, check. Black
suit,
sort of
check.
Black, indiscriminate
goth attire.
goth attire, check. He does a quick crotch check.
Now we don't know. Mank never has indicated whether Chaney measured up to Karloff in that
in the Coxman department.
Yeah, we don't know that.
That's amazing that we don't know that.
Yeah. Well, I think if anybody would know, it would be Mank.
Yeah. It does seem to be right up his alley.
Big deal about it. Yeah.
He's too busy talking about Anchor's tits.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know. Did he mention her tits? I can't believe I haven't. I tried to. I actually, when I first sat down to watch these minutes, which included the ones last week and what are we on 34? So it's minute 32. I was tempted to say there's two things I like about this scene, and then I just let it. I couldn't. Yeah, I just no. Anyway, enough about her tits. The monster's tits.
Sure, if you say so.
I've had enough. I watched minute 32 in slow motion, and that's all you get.
All right. And yes, then he ends on the footwear, and he looks
he stares at the shoes.
He looks at the shoes for a very long time.
Now, what do you think about the shoes? Because it seems like, and this we could just talk about this almost any minute. Mm-hmm. Frankenstein has big shoes.
Yes.
So
you know what they say about big.
Yep, I do know. He's also got lifts because it makes him taller or whatever, and so that's just become part of the character.
It has become part of. I mean, even Herman Munster has that.
Yeah, it's part of the role.
It's part of the look. Yeah.
Yeah, bizarre, but that's fine.
Strange had it, and he was the tallest actor to play him.
He walked around barefoot when he had to be with next to people.
He's wearing them.
I mean, in any shot where the shoes aren't there, he'd be just as likely to be barefoot because he's already tall.
He's 6'3" or whatever he is. Yeah.
So he's just staring at the shoes, and that's critically important.
A long time.
Spends a long time on the shoes
because Junior lifts his head as the music swells ominously.
Yeah. This is a monster movie.
Yes.
Where scary monsters threaten people.
Yeah.
And so this is great. This is a great scene.
This is exactly what you want from a Frankenstein film.
Exactly what I want from a Frankenstein film. That's very true. Yes, he does spend an inordinately long amount of time staring at the shoes. Yes, it does take quite a while for Chaney to finally bust out of those straps one by one.
Yeah.
But having watched it a number of times, it's like one of those things. If you do something enough times, you start at one point, you go to a different point, and then you end up back at your starting point. Mm-hmm. Having gone through the period of thinking it takes a little bit too long, it's a little bit too slow, I've now come back to it's exactly the right amount of time. Because you do see that Chaney busts, I'm getting ahead of you, but where Chaney busts his left arm out and then busts his chest out of the same chest restraint, and then we cut back to Ludwig just recognizing that's what's noticing, reacting. There you go. This entire thing maybe takes 2 seconds, but when you're watching it minute by minute and trying to think of things to say, it can seem really, really slow.
Okay. That's what I was.
Oh, okay.
That's where I was going. Is that yes, minute by minute, it seems like like you said, an inordinate amount of time. But if you watch the film like you're supposed to, like a sane person watches a film, it seems just fine.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, is actually great.
It is good
because it's actually appropriate. Because you don't want Chaney to bust out any quicker, because then it looks like he's anything to bust out of this act. He is a big guy, and he looks like he busted out of some serious restraints.
Yeah, there was some effort involved. It wasn't just easily popping out of it.
He didn't pop out of both at once.
It's like Karloff yanking off the chains in Bride when he's strapped to the chair. There's some effort involved in that.
Yeah, right.
It's not an easy.
He's got to pull that thing
up. It looks like it's some exertion involved.
It's a cool shot. I noticed one thing. Karloff's monster is repeatedly shown to be sneaky, and this is him being sneaky here, because I don't ever think of Chaney's monster as being sneaky. He doesn't do anything sneaky except this, I bet. I mean, I have to keep an eye out for it. But Karloff he got so sneaky that it was absurd in the last film. Like, he's going to pull that shade down because he snuck into the apothecary while he was still awake in the other room smoking. It's very sneaky. Yeah, and then he sneaks up behind him. Exactly,
He snaps the straps and sits up, reaching for the camera.
Snaps the straps.
He does. Sits up and reaches towards the camera. It would be great effective. In 3D. As I said, this is the kind of thing that Chaney is very, very good at.
Yeah, no complaints. No notes.
Nope. He's very good at this. Hardwick reacts quickly, ducks away, and then we go to a wider shot, and he runs around the table to a tray of medical instruments, and he runs very quickly.
Yeah, he's believably. And like you say, he's a lithe fellow, and it's a very believable scenario. Absolutely, because the monster is still struggling with his right arm breaking free. Right, and I don't believe he ever does get it free. Maybe. We'll keep an eye out for that.
And Ludwig, he starts to prepare a hypodermic, and you actually see this happening. The script is so timid about it, it doesn't mention what it is.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's like he's doing a medical thing, but we don't see, and he has some medical instrument that we can't see, and it's very cowing to the production code, I'm sure.
I suppose.
And I'm sure the wordage was put in there to just get it past the production code.
Yeah.
Knowing full well, we'll show him with the hypodermic in his hand.
Yeah.
We don't see it going in to the monster.
Amazing what kind of things end up in someone's code, right? Yeah. Like, he kills people. The monster goes around killing people.
But we can't show a hypodermic
needle, even if it's not in somebody.
Yeah, but he does. You do see it. You do see him holding it.
Yep, you see the little bottle.
Yep, he fills it.
You see him flick the little bubble. No, you don't see him flick the bubble.
And then Bulmer enters.
And then everything gets totally fucked, in my opinion.
Again, it's like a holy fuck.
Yeah.
What is going on in here? Then there's a wider shot.
It violates the 180 rule, because he comes in.
Does it though?
Well, I'm sorry, it probably doesn't, but it appears like it does, and it might slightly. You can get away with it a little bit in a scene where something like that happens, where it's kind of it's not that quick, but he runs around the table. We see him on this side of the table, and then he comes in over here. So it might violate it slightly, but what it really does is violate it in my brain, because then they show Ludwig look up presumably at the monster, where the one place I know he is not looking is at Bulmer, because Bulmer's over here, and so then it looks like they make eye contact. That's why I say
I never took that from it. So.
Well, then maybe it's just me.
I never got that, but
I found it really confusing that we see Bulmer, because then the next shot you see Bulmer come in, you see the monster's it does violate the 180, because you see the monster's head come up and it's wrong. Oh no, maybe it isn't.
No, it's not. No, it's not at all.
I have to go through it again in my head.
No, it makes sense.
He's just past the table. The camera just moves this way. It doesn't violate the rule. It just moves over.
Right.
So you can't see the table anymore, but you do see the shadow of the monster coming up. And then the only thing that's confusing to me is that they spend a second on Ludwig looking at something, presumably just the back of the monster's head.
I think he's just looking, where should I inject this?
Okay, all right. But then you get Bulmer looking, and it looks like they make eye contact, but they can't be.
Yeah, I never got that.
Also, Earl Kenton maybe could have given Atwell some idea of what he's supposed to be looking at, because he doesn't look like he has any idea what he's seeing. He doesn't look remotely scared or even worried. He looks like he just walked in on a Pinky Atwell Hollywood Yuletide party.
Hey.
I actually looked that up. It was called the Hollywood Yuletide Party.
Was it?
Yeah, and
next week
the details of it are pretty gross.
Recreating that.
The details of that situation are simultaneously worse and not as bad as I was expecting, I guess, when I read about it. Pinky may be innocent, but it seems reasonable to conclude that there was an orgy and an underage girl behaved was engaged in lewd behavior, and
that's what
people went to jail for it.
That's what I've always understood, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
the Hollywood episode Yuletide party.
Well, next weekend at our Yuletide party, we're recreating that.
All right.
You are coming, so...
Well, the thing was, the way I saw it described was Pinky showed a bunch of porno films, and then people said, hey, let's do this.
Yeah.
And then in court, Pinky said, that wasn't porno. Those were just some historical films.
Yeah.
And then as the trial dragged on, he eventually changed his mind and said, yeah, it was porno, and pled guilty.
That's where he was.
And so he was on probation.
Perjury.
And this is 2 years before this.
Yeah. So he's still on probation here.
Yeah, he's still on probation. Well, I guess he died on probation, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe he was just at the end of it. Because if he was 41...
He dies about 4 years after this, so yeah.
But he'd already been on probation for a year by this point. So yeah, he's probably just got off probation, fell over dead.
And he had a young son. He and his wife just had a young son just very shortly before he died.
Well, it's not like he just fell over, right? He had lung cancer. I
guess right.
Nowadays when someone has...
He didn't just drop dead. I'm making it sound like that, but yeah, no.
No, but I mean, I also think there's something about having a kid. There's a temptation to think that someone that has a kid on purpose has an obligation to try to maybe
stay alive
for a while. And Tony Randall didn't obviously care. Neither does Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, from what I hear.
Clearly not.
But Pinky died of lung cancer in the days that you go to the doctor and they say, you have lung cancer, you have 10 minutes to live.
Exactly.
So he may not have even known he was going to die.
Yeah. No, I'm not judging him at all.
I am. Pinky.
Okay.
And that's it. The minute ends with Pinky looking confused.
Yeah, lawn starts to sink down back.
That's true. You're right. I'm wrong. We cut back to the monsters sinking back onto the table.
There's a long close-up of Bomer apparently looking at nothing that you
yeah, that's what it looks like to me. Or maybe porno. Maybe he's watching porno.
So fixated.
He's so fixated, like, whoa, what's this now?
Yeah, like you were at the beginning of this episode. That long close-up, I believe, is there to bridge the time it takes Ludwig to inject the monster.
I completely agree. That is absolutely... thank you for mentioning that, because I agree. That is what it obviously is. Obviously. But just when I'm watching it, again, minute by minute, I'm like, that's not what this looks like. There's got to be something he could do that would help with that.
I think he's
other than just stand there looking
nice,
like a deer with his...
you walk in.
He's so surprised.
You walk in on that. How would you react?
Okay, so just so we're clear, if I walked in on that now, or if I had helped carry Elsa earlier that evening and checked on my dead life partner and helped carry the monster and put him on the slab in the first, you know what I mean? Like
okay, fine.
He's not walking in on a situation. This is actually kind of expected for Pinky. I'm calling him Pinky. Krog, what's his name? Bomer. Bomer, at this point, this should be really within the realm of things he should expect.
Okay. What I think is interesting, for the very first time in the entire series.
Wow, this would be good.
The minute ends with a shot. You see the monster's boots on the left-hand side of the frame in the foreground, and you see the tacks running around the perimeter of it where the suede and the sole meet.
Okay.
It's an interesting little detail that I had never noticed before.
So that's because they put suede around the outside of it to make it look nondescript, and then but from the bottom, that's all done with tacks.
Yeah, a lot of old boots were like that. You've seen cartoons with a cobbler and elves, and they're hammering. And
absolutely. You made me think of something, but I can't think of it now. I don't know. It happens all the time. I guess now the only thing I can think of is in Army of Darkness when he steps on attack, but that's not the same thing at all. That's not what happens here.
Cue the music. Any more questions, wise ass?
That sound can only mean one thing. We have run out of things to talk about.
Yep.
Oh, wait. I got to do this in a specific order. I forgot. We've got step one is to make sure that any wise asses get their due. Frankenstein Minute, the podcast where wise asses get their due. Is this minute 34?
It is.
Yeah, it's 34. All right, we have one comment.
They paid for us to belittle them, so...
Felicity Brown writes, and if people don't want their last names on there, they should tell me. But no one's listening to this podcast. It doesn't matter. Mike Herman and Felicity Brown now know each other's names.
Dino's not even listening.
Like Mike Herman's a real name. And for that matter, Felicity Brown. That seems a little made up.
Sounds made up.
Felicity what? Brown says, what an unattractive angle on the monster. No one needs a camera aimed up their nose. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's effective.
Dr. blah, blah, blah. Actually, I think this is Len. I'm just going to call him Len because the other guy called him Len. Well, the comedy team at the Frankenstein, or at the Classic Horror Film Board writes.
Okay.
Well, the comedy team of Evenson and Lang, at least... I think it's funny that the word I got hung up on was Evenson. I slurred my way through it like I was on soporific gas.
Didn't know how to pronounce it.
Leave that in. Use that for every time I say my name. Well, the comedy team of Evenson and Lang at least considered my post regarding Ludwig possibly being the older of the two Frankenstein brothers for reasons I suggested. I did it mostly to have fun and argue with the late Richard Vallee. Maybe Wolf was sent off to boarding school or something while Ludwig stayed at home more with his parents. All I know is that Ludwig seems to know much more about his dad and the Frankenstein family history than Wolf does.
Yes, that's, excellent point. Yep.
Which is really weird, the more I think about it, because...
I'm thinking he made an
Wolf
excellent
is so
point.
engaged in the family history. He's passionate about it. But I agree with this point.
But
Ludwig, who doesn't seem to care particularly much about anything, does know more about it.
Yeah.
Or is that because it's after what happened with Wolf, maybe?
I don't think so. I don't get that impression.
Yeah, I don't either.
I really like his point that Ludwig is the elder brother.
Yes.
I'm taking that as canon at this point.
It's canon. We've decided it's Frankenstein been a canon.
And this point too about Wolf going off to boarding school, Ludwig sticking around, it all makes sense.
Yep. Wolf certainly could be older and married a younger woman and had a son later in life. It worked for me. It's just something to consider, I think. So I don't know how old he is, but good deal.
Yep.
Steve, this must be the other guy.
Okay.
I find these podcasts entertaining enough so that I'll listen to them when my son is out of the room. And this is the original guy that said, could you tone it down? Mm-hmm. He says, no reason for him to grow up quicker than he has to. I just thought they were overdoing it. Maybe because my wife and I have tried to self-censor our own language around our son. I think that is absolutely a possibility. Yes. I'm certain that it happened to me when I had little kids.
Yes.
That I started to notice other people doing it. But then I did something that I don't have any idea whether this is the right decision or not. I decided to stop doing it. And so my kids just listen to me talk like a drunken sailor trapped under a bus on fire. Yeah. And but what's funny about it is, it was like this year that they started swearing in front of me. I caught them swearing in the other room and I said, what was that? And they're like, oh, they didn't realize, even though I would swear openly, they got it into their heads that they weren't supposed to swear.
Yeah. It's funny because I did the exact same thing you're talking about with my kids.
Yeah.
And my son probably swears more than I do.
Yeah.
My daughter, I don't think physically can swear.
Yeah.
We saw the movie Kick-Ass.
Yeah.
And she couldn't say the title. She had to say Kick.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if some of that is how she feels in front of you. Maybe she's different around other people.
I know. It's just how she is.
Yeah.
Because other people have remarked upon it. Yeah.
All right. Well, so keep that in mind,
good for her.
Len. And then I might as well read the next comment because it's right here. Yes, I understand completely. This is Steve. It's tough to raise a family with any standards of behavior when the culture is fighting you every step of the way. Episode 4.29 drops 9 F-bombs in 23 and a half minutes. So it's nice to know that we're having an effect enough that people are doing measurements and collecting data on our podcast. Yeah. But I do want to reiterate for my own personal, just to make myself feel better, I don't do it on purpose ever.
No, it just...
I'm always either trying to make some point that's how I make my point because I'm not articulate, or I just do it and don't even notice it.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it is just I just do it.
I'll also say, I bet that you and I are bad influences on each other because I've thought about this. Because I mentioned it to Jackie and she said, you do? You swear all the time on that? Yeah. And I go, well, I guess. That's what I'm hearing from the people. And so then we went out to dinner with her brother and I had a beer. And then at some point in the first 10 minutes, she's like, boy, you really do swear a lot. And I'm like, I don't even know what she's talking about. So either I'm doing it all the time. Man, I'm probably just doing it all the time. Yeah. Do you swear all the time, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, sorry. Sorry, listeners. There's nothing we can do.
I have to be careful at work.
Oh, yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem.
But it still slips out.
And this is obviously more, or maybe not obviously, but for me personally, it's more, I can't quite picture your work environment, but I picture it being one in which you and a small group of people, or maybe no people, or maybe one person, spends a certain amount of time alone, or are there a lot of people coming in and out all the time?
A lot of people coming in and out.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, you probably can't. But I noticed that I'm working at home now, I don't know, 90% of the time. A lot of that time is on calls, and I'll hear other people swear, and I'll be like, okay, good. I'm glad Tom swore there, because it was really not necessary, and it makes me feel better, because I'm sure I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Ruben Herfindahl responds to something.
Another name that sounds made up.
Yeah, it is. It's clearly made up. He responds to something. Moon over my hammy is quite good, but you shouldn't eat it if you are older than 35. I'm guessing
We talked about Denny's.
your heart can't handle it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I suppose. I don't know. I've never had a stent. I don't know what to. I don't know what to think about that. I was just reading. You know how.
Just give it time.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm worried about. Because now I'm of that age. I'm now older than you were when we started this podcast.
Are you?
Probably. When I don't remember how old you are.
5 years ago, so I was.
Are you 5 years older than me?
53.
I'm 53.
Okay. Yeah, you are the age
I'm ready.
I was.
Well, you didn't get a stent until you were 18.
27.
27.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Thanks, Dad.
Well, then maybe I won't get one because nobody in my family's ever had one. We have diabetes.
Well,
instead.
see, that's yeah.
And some of us have hair loss, but I seem to be doing just fine.
Yeah.
What are you laughing about?
Nothing.
What the hell you got to laugh about?
Yeah, I'm one to laugh.
All right, I think that's it. I think we got enough comments.
Okay.
The rest of them can go on the next one.